What's up, Internet? I'm Chimera Complex, and I am bad at games. What game am I bad at today? I'm bad at City of Heroes. More specifically, Homecoming City of Heroes. That's right, Internet. City of Heroes is making a comeback, and we're just going to see how bad I am at it. Um, a number of years ago, the source code for City of Heroes was leaked to the general public, and since then, several different uh, enterprising teams have gone on to develop their own servers. Most of them remained private for some time. The Homecoming team specifically, it's the server that I play on. Um, they have tried to keep the game as true to the original creator's vision as possible. It is currently in the state that it was in at the time of its closure, uh, plus some additional features, some quality of life improvements, and some of the updates that this team has implemented. Personally, I feel has kind of been in line with uh, how the development may have progressed had it remained live to this day with the original team. Um, so, that said, what we're going to do here is I've got a fresh character. I'm going to try to play it as vanilla as possible, meaning I'm not going to take advantage of any of the veteran rewards, the veteran buffs. Um, there is a couple of things that you can do on this particular service to kind of modify your experience gain versus your currency gain, which is influence, infamy, or information, depending on which faction you start as. As you can see, I did give myself a little bit of a boost here. I've got 20 million influence that I just carried over from one of my other characters, but that's really the only advantage I'm giving myself at this point. I'm not even going to go crazy with that. I'm just going to use that as a buffer as I progress through the game. So I am going to start out with a couple of go over a couple of features for anybody who may be interested in jumping back into it or jumping into it for the very first time. I'm going to give a couple of new player tips, that sort of thing, and then I'm just going to go start playing through the story arcs as they were intended way back when. So my character here, Professor LaRoe, and I'm sure that I've spelled LaRoe incorrectly, but this is a fictional world. Does it really matter? Um, I've got myself, mechanically speaking, this character uses ice-based melee attacks with with electricity-based defensive powers. A little bit later on, a couple levels from now, I'm going to start picking up arcane-based travel power that does include some fiery stuff, and basically, I just kind of want to have like that whole elemental vibe going on. Conceptually speaking, in other words, if I were, you know, writing a story or a comic, as it were, about this character, he was a professor studying the arcane arts and bonded with a sentient arcane artifact. And that is how he became a superhero. No secret identity, just, you know, he got this thing that happened to him, and so he's going to uh, take advantage of it for the betterment of mankind. And we're going to enter Paragon City. So, the interface that you see here is not the default interface. I've modified it to kind of suit my own personal needs and tastes. I've got my hotbar down here. The first three are bound to my number pad. I've got my mouse emulating my number pad, so I have access to all of these slots with just my thumb. Um, I usually reserve this bar for the number 4 bar for my toggled effects, for my defensive powers and things like that. The number 5 bar I usually reserve for movement or teleportation based powers that I don't necessarily, or that I won't necessarily be using all of the time. And then I use my number 6 bar just for miscellaneous things that don't really fit into any other category. So the first 3 bars, the rows, those are going to be my primary powers, my attacks, my buffs and debuffs, things like that. All right, so we're going to talk about some new player tips. This is Miss Liberty. She's one of the canon, officially licensed characters, not licensed. She's an original character that was created for the game. You can think of her as like a Supergirl meets Wonder Woman type of archetype. She is where your character will initially go to train new powers and things like that. The one thing that I really wanted to point out, though, is that you can customize your character at trainers. And you start off with a default number of character slots. And up to, like, I believe it's level 10, your costume edits and your new costumes that you're creating are free. So one thing you want to maybe do when you first get started is kind of plan out the look for your character and the alternate looks that you want to give your character, and get them squared away very early in the game so that you don't really have to spend any of your resources. I'm going to edit this one right now because I'm not really feeling the black pants. I want to make them a little bit more of a khaki look. And that change, as you can see, is absolutely free. Another place you want to go to when you're getting started, at least on the Homecoming server specifically, is the pay-to-win field agent. This is where you'll go to pick up all of the veteran rewards that existed during the original game's lifetime. Because this version, this server, it's not monetized in any way. So the team that's developing this particular server, they wanted you to have access to all of the rewards that were tied to monetization, and so you can equip them here. Some things do come at a cost of resources. Influence, infamy, information. Other things, like a couple of the things that you can initially get, are free. Any additional things related to them come at an additional cost, that sort of thing. But I'm not really going to get anything here. I'm just going to leave that alone, and I'm just going to play this super basic, like I'm brand new, like I don't know what I'm doing. Frankly, I've been playing this game for years. I played it, back in the day when it was live. I've been playing on this server for about a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. I still don't know what I'm doing. But this wasn't a fresh character. I created this character just ahead of time so that I could jump right into it. There were a couple of different messages that pop up when you first create a character. One of them directing you to this NPC. So, let us begin. Alright, so what this guy wants us to do is take care of this gang called the Hellions. Um, they're just causing some havoc, general shenanigans, as you might expect from a gang in a comic book universe. And one of the things that this game did right that even modern MMOs today fail to accomplish is just show you where to go. There's a marker on the compass at the top and a marker at the destination. So I am level 1. I've got nothing going for me right now. I'm going to have to fight my way to that destination. So probably going to get my ass handed to me. Here we go. It has begun. Now, one thing you'll probably note right away, all of the active abilities in this game are cooldown based. In other words, you activate it, it immediately goes on a cooldown. Now, the whole like gameplay loop you'll find is that as you gain power, you can enhance your powers. We're going to talk about how enhancements look, how they work, that sort of thing a little bit later on. But you'll find that as you increase in power and your powers, are equipped with your enhancements, that sort of thing, the combat will just naturally speed up as you progress. So it's very slow at first, and very methodical. You want to, take your time with things and make sure that you're not rushing right away. Otherwise, you will be overwhelmed and things will hurt. I think that I've got quite a few characters at max level exploring the end game content. Some of them are, in fact, fully built. I may show them off in a different video, but yeah, I just leveled up. A lot of the characters, once they're fully kitted out and everything, it's like even though everything's like on a cooldown, things are indeed sped up enough that the cooldown based combat system doesn't feel slow. It kind of catches up with itself. All right, now I've completed my objective, and I'm going back to the guy. Now, one thing I like about this game is that there's almost always a reward for leveling up. So you're either going to get a new power, or you're going to get new slots for the enhancements that I mentioned. There's always something to gain with every single level, rather than having like a level or two where you level up and maybe you get some more hit points but nothing else. You're always getting something out of gaining a level. All right, so he's sending me to speak to somebody else to continue investigating the gang that I was just fighting, the Hellions. Um, Now that I've completed a mission for him, I don't have to run back to him every single time now. This is a modern setting. Cell phones exist. You're not going to, physically approach somebody on your contacts list every single time you want to talk to them. And the same is true in this game, which I find rather convenient. So I leveled up to level 2, so let's see what sort of training Miss Liberty has for me. We're going to train to a new level of power. See here, I'm going to get a couple of what's called innate abilities, just a couple of things that provide passive bonuses. Fitness um, is just a set of powers dealing with like the amount of energy that I have, the amount of hit points I have. Rest is for replenishing those resources. I also get a new power. Um, I think, let's see here, take a look at it. All right, so uh, early AoE is always a good thing. So I think I'm going to grab this, just in case I get a couple of enemies, I can damage them both at the same time, or multiple enemies at the same time. I think up to 5. There are certain like target caps. This is an older game, so there was a lot of maths involved in the background that you don't see. There were a lot of limitations, back in the day. So one of the things that they kind of hard coded into the game was your attacks can only hit a certain number of enemies at the same time. A lot of games don't have that limitation anymore, but it is what it is. Um, in this day and age, gamers are a lot smarter. Um, there are theory crafters out there that can kind of figure out what the mathematically best, situation is, and I think it just adds to the tactics of your combat in this particular game. I'm going to move that over there. There is a method to the way that I place my powers. I may explain it someday. It's kind of weird to get into it right now, so I'm just going to return to the mission. I'm going to speak to a police officer regarding the Hellions. Got an option for some additional dialogue. Um, I'm just going to, choose the path of least resistance to complete my objectives. All right, so the story so far is that the Hellions have some civilians being held captive in Prometheus Park, so I'm headed there to rescue these civilians. All right, here we go. All right, that's my new power in action. Doesn't do a lot of damage at the point of hitting, but it does a number of hits. And you can see that it's got a much longer cooldown than my punch. See, that's about 3 seconds. This one is about 10. All right, that's 2 out of 4. you're going to see a lot of missing in the early game. Uh, Most of your powers are going to remain unenhanced in the first, couple, 2 or 3 levels. Um, there is a power gaming aspect to this. Once you've experienced the game and you know what to expect, and you know what's coming down the line, you can kind of plan ahead. Like I said before, I'm not really doing that at this point. I am going to explore enhancements, um, just not at this time. Again, I'm just kind of deliberately kind of going through um, this early parts of the game as though I was a brand new player. So I got a clue after rescuing the fourth civilian, and one of the victims that I spoke to uh, told me that there was something going down, and I'm being attacked. So this is an ambush. They came for me from a random spawning location. We're just going to take them out. These are little, like, clockwork boys, built from scrap, and there's really not a whole lot of information on them in the early game. I'm not going to spoil anything, but in higher level zones, well, higher level zones than this, there are certain story arcs that concern the clockwork specifically, and pretty interesting idea behind them. So maybe we'll play that story arc at some point in the future. All right, let's take a look at this clue again. Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to underground hideout that the last civilian that I rescued told me about. And they got that hell theme going on with all the fire. But they're also a gang. They like to party. So, they got layers. And like this, you'll find as you play, if you do end up playing, a lot of the resources that they use kind of copy pasted. Again, kind of a product of its time, engine limitations, things like that. All right, so I found the artifact. Okay, product and property of Magi. That is I believe it's a government organization. It specifically deals with magical artifacts and things of that nature. The Hellions are of a concern to Magi, not because they're a common street gang, which they are, but they also like to steal artifacts and summon succubus girlfriends. That's their little quirk. Every enemy group has their own little quirks, and that's the Hellions. I think that's pretty funny, honestly. All right, I didn't have to go back to them, like I mentioned earlier, but I kind of wanted to. I wanted to be back in this area. Alrighty. So, what I'm going to end up doing here is uh, going to beat up some specific Hellion uh, dude bros. They'll be they'll be named Hellion informants. I'm going to steal one of their outfits, and I'm going to go incognito to rescue somebody. I believe, if I read that correctly. But tell me what you think. If you're interested in playing, or if there's any other concepts you'd like to see me play, or I may just continue playing this character for a little while. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. And we'll be exploring more of the game as we go on. And I'm surprised that I'm surprised that I didn't eat the floor. I usually in early games when I'm early in the game when I'm just playing vanilla without any special stuff going on. I'm usually pretty squishy, so I think I'm digging this power set, this power combination. But we'll see you next time.